Hare Krishna. Welcome to the Bhagavad Gita series of 2021. We will start with Mangalacharan prayers. I will share the screen so that you can all follow along. I hope you all can hear me okay.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes. Okay, great. Thanks. So, Mangalacharan prayers at the beginning of Bhagavad Gita as it is in the introduction. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutah Padkamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, so we will start with our or continue with our discussion on chapter 5, and we had covered up till 5.16, so we will start from 5.17 and go till 5.29. So 1 second. Okay, so let me go to the verse 5.17. So in the next several verses, Lord Krishna is going to describe the destination. So the destination of somebody who is completely engaged in the combination of Nishkama Karma Yoga with Jnana Yoga. So the destination is that of Brahman or Brahma Nirvanam. That is another term that will be used, Nirvanam, Brahma Nirvanam. This is also commonly known as the state of Nirvana. You might have heard this word Nirvana. What is Nirvana? That is Brahma Nirvana, or getting into the state of the Brahman or the Brahma Jyoti. So that Brahma Nirvanam stage is going to be described, and a requisite, not a prerequisite, but the penultimate stage, the stage when one becomes eligible to get Nirvanam, is known as the stage of Brahma Sthita. One is situated in that situation where one becomes completely eligible to get Nirvana. So these are just some technical terms. We will go through this through the Bhagavad Gita, and we will see how the chapter 5 progresses. However, a very, very important part of this whole discussion is where is Lord Krishna leading us with this discussion. So we will realize or sort of reveal that as we go along. Where is Lord Krishna?
Sir, we cannot see your board.
Oh, sorry. Let me see what's going on. I'm sharing and I'm writing, and it is
No.
slide number 1.
From the beginning, we have not seen anything.
Yeah, I can see that. 12, 21, 12, 24. 21, 12, 24. Yeah, this is the same file. Should I just reload? Huh. Okay. That's why I always write something first to make sure it shows up. Wait a minute. I'm writing it's the same file. This kind of thing has not happened before. What's going on? Let me close the browser and restart. Hold on. Okay. Sorry for the delay. Now it appears. Okay. So I have written so far, you can see, I'm sure, because can you see this, Hare Krishna?
Yes, we
Yes,
can see.
Prabhuji.
Right? Okay. Okay. I hope it continues to work. Okay. So where is Lord Krishna leading us towards? This is a very important question to realize for us as we are going through this portion of the Bhagavad Gita. So we will go through these verses 17 through 29, and the important part is the destination, which is Brahman realization, which is another name for that is Brahma Nirvanam, and the penultimate stage is Brahma Sthita. One is situated in that state, he's almost at the doorstep of Nirvana. So that is Brahma Sthita stage. So that's what we will discuss from 5.17. So in 5.17, Lord Krishna is saying that when 4 things are all fixed in the Supreme, what are those 4 things? Buddhi. So intelligence. So this is 5.17. Intelligence. Tad buddhayas, that is the first word. Tad atmanam. Atma in this case refers to the mind. Tad nishtha. Nishtha means faith. And the 4th is tad parayana, which is shelter. One's shelter. When all these are situated in that, in tat, and that the word tat is coming from the previous verse, which says that prakashayati tat param. He goes towards that highest destination, tat param. So basically this means that when these 4 are situated in the consciousness of the supreme destination, tad param, taken from the previous verse, when these 4 are situated, gachanti Apunaravrittim jnana nirdhuta kalmasha. He goes towards liberation. All his kalmasha, all his misgivings, all his miseries are washed away by jnana, are cleansed by jnana. So here you can see the sense of a destination, the word gacchanti. This is occurring in 5.17c. Gacchanti apunaravrittim. Apunaravrittim means to liberation, to moksha. So gacchanti, he is going towards. When all these things, his intelligence, his mind, his faith, his shelter is all fixed in the Supreme, he goes towards that stage. Such a person, the qualities of such a person are being described. 5.18 to 5.4 verses. So 18, 19, 20, 21. So 4 verses are describing 4 verses. Qualities of such a person. And what is this person? Brahmasthita. He is almost at the doorstep of nirvana. So qualities or the characteristics or attributes of such a person are being described. Of a Brahmasthita person. So again, I will bring your attention back to the point, where is Lord Krishna leading us with this whole discussion? I will give you a little exercise to think about, which is, as we are discussing this, please try to see yourself doing this or being such a person. Try to imagine yourself being a Brahmasthita person. Okay? And evaluate in your mind whether it is easy or hard or how it is. Try to evaluate that. Try to think yourself. Envision, imagine yourself in that situation. Sthita means situation, right? Situated. So it is basically a Brahmasthita, a particular situation. So imagine yourself in that situation and just think what it takes to be in that situation. Okay? So verse number 18 kind of sums it up. It is a sort of a vivid description of such a person, vivid description of a Brahmasthita person. Here in this verse, the word that is used is, here the verse, yes, you wanted me to change the screen, I believe. So yeah, so the vivid description of a Brahmasthita person, or what is known as a Pandita in this verse. So this says, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavi Hastini Shuni Chaiva Swapakecha Panditah Samadarshinaha. Samadarshina is the key word. Samadarshinaha. He sees everybody equally. Who all does he see equally? Various kinds of people. Brahmana. Gavi. Gavi means cow, guy. Hastini means hathi or elephant. Shuni means dog. Chaiva means and. Shwapake. Shuni and Shwapake. Shwapake means a dog eater, a person who eats a dog, which means a very, very low class person. Shwapakecha. Panditaha Samadarshinaha. So there are these 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 people. Brahman, cow, elephant, dog, and dog eater. So there are these 5 people, and the Pandita sees them, sees all of them equally. Samadarshinaha. Are you able to see all such people equally? And here it doesn't just mean a random cow. Yes, cow. Yes, dog. I ignore both of them equally. That way you can think I don't care about them equally. Not that way. Think about somebody, who barks at you, dog barks at you, and the cow is always calm and quiet. There are people in your life like this who are dogs, who are cows. Are you able to see them equally? That is the question. So, and cow and Brahmin are generally in mode of goodness. Elephant is in mode of passion. Dog and dog eater are in mode of ignorance. So what it means is that, are you able to see everyone, whether he is in the mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance equally or not? If you can see them equally, then you are a Pandita, then you are a Brahmasthita. If you see difference in them, I like him, I don't like him, he is good, he is bad, he is worthy of my praise, he is worthy of my rebuke, like that, if you think, then you are not in the Brahmasthita stage. Just a very small point I want to bring out, which is a very important point in this verse, another kind of a important learning. The first line, 5.18, says, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne. Vidya and Vinaya. So I'm just going off topic here. The main topic we have discussed, which has been shown above, that you see a Pandita or a Brahmasthita person sees all these living entities equally. Now I'm just hinting on a different point, taking from the first line, 5.18a, which is Vidya Vinaya Sampanne. So Vidya and Vinaya both are in such a person, Brahmasthita person or a Pandita person. Generally, you will see that when there is Vidya, Vinaya means humility, very soft-spoken, very gentle. So Vidya, when is equipped with knowledge, generally pride enters the heart. Humility leaves. So Vidya or knowledge and humility is a very, very potent combination. And this is a key ingredient to making progress. Vidya with pride leads to downfall. So when there is Vidya, you should try to develop Vinaya. So this is one learning from this verse. So you have to be, sorry?
Vidya Dadati Vinayam.
Yes. So no, not always. Vidya can always sometimes lead to
Ego.
Ahankar. So true Vidya leads to Vinaya. But sometimes in modern world, people think I am very knowledgeable, I am very smart, and that makes them very proud, and Vinaya is nowhere to be seen. So that is the point being made here, but that's not the main point of the verse. So don't defocus from the main point of the verse, but I just wanted to bring this out. Okay, so let's continue with 5.19. So very quickly, we will cover 5.19 to 5.21, where again the qualities or characteristics of a Brahmasthita person are being described. And the term Brahmasthita is going to be used here. So the essence of the qualities is to do two things: enjoy spiritually, or enjoy, I would say, spiritual consciousness, and reject material consciousness. That is the essence of the qualities. Enjoy spiritual consciousness and reject material consciousness. So this enjoyment of spiritual consciousness is given in 5.19 to 5.21. And rejecting material consciousness is given in 5.22 to 23. So these are the qualities. So 5.19, 20, and 21. So we will read the English translations just for sake of, and I will pick on some keywords later. So I will read all the three verses, 5.19 to 21, and you follow along in your book. Those whose minds are established in sameness and equanimity have already conquered the conditions of birth and death. They are flawless like Brahman, and thus they are already situated in Brahman. 5.20. A person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant, who is self-intelligent, who is unbewildered, and who knows the science of God, is already situated in transcendence. And 5.21, such a liberated person is not attracted to material sense pleasure, but is always in trance, enjoying the pleasure within. In this way, the self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the Supreme. So back to 5.19, that their minds are situated in equanimity. So yesham, in the second line of 5.19 says, yesham samye sthitam manaha. So samye means sama, means equal. Again, samadarshinaha, same concept. Samye sthitam manaha. And they are situated, tasmad, last line is brahmani te sthitaha. So they are situated in Brahman, or they are situated in the quality of Brahman. Their quality has become spiritual. They have transcended the material quality. In verse number 20, it is said that one who neither rejoices on obtaining pleasant things nor becomes agitated due to unpleasant things. Prahrisyet, na prahrisyet, prahrisyet priyam prapya. On prapya means prapta karna. On obtaining something, priya means one thing which you like. Na udvijet prapya cha apriyam. On obtaining something apriya, one who is sthita buddhir and asammudho, who is equanimous, who doesn't get wavered by either of these two. He is Brahmavid Brahmani Sthita. He is known to be Brahma Sthita. He is supposed to be situated in Brahman. So he is neither agitated nor elated. That is the principle. And the last one, 21, that he is not attracted, Bahya Sparsheshva Asaktatma. Asakt means detached. Asakta means attached. Asakta means detached. So he's asakta to everything external, Bahya Sparsha, everything that is external. And he enjoys internally, Vindati Atmaniyat Sukham. He obtains Sukha from Atmani, from internal, from the mind. Such a person, he is connected with Brahman, Brahma Yoga, Sa Brahma Yoga Yuktatma. Sukham Akshayam Ashnute. He enjoys unlimited, Akshayam, unlimited Sukham. So that is the situation of a person, that he enjoys internally the spiritual consciousness to an unlimited extent. So I can say here, enjoy unlimited spiritual consciousness. And he completely rejects material consciousness. That is 22 and 23. So what is material consciousness? A material consciousness is that which is always giving some kind of pain or the other. Today, it might feel like it is a lot of pleasure, but ultimately it leads to pain. So if you have not experienced that, I hope you never experience it. And for those who have experienced it, realize the truth in this statement. Okay, so I don't need to say anything more. That everything in this material world is a source of misery. If you have not realized it, good for you. For those who have realized it, they already know the answer. So that's what I'm saying. So the translation or the verse is, ye hi samsparshajab hoga dukha yonah evate adya antavantah kaunteya na teshu ramate buddha. Very, very beautiful verse 22, where ye hi samsparshajab hoga, by enjoying the bhoga, which means enjoying everything that is related to samsparshaja. With samsparsha means related to sense objects, everything that our senses can perceive, including our mind. Ahaha, so beautiful, so nice. Dukkha yonaha evate. These are all sources of misery. Now, one may say that this is a highly pessimistic view of the world, a cynical view of the world. There are good things in the world and all that. Why is Bhagavad Gita kind of portraying such a pessimistic picture? It's not a pessimistic picture. It is a true picture. And the reason why it is a true picture is because it is coming in the third line, Adya Antavantaha Kaunteya. The reason is because it has a beginning and it has an end, Adi and Anta. When you get used to material pleasures, you always want it. When it comes to an end, nobody likes it. And then it gives misery. While you are having it, you fear losing it. And when you lose it, you are either lamenting or you are angry. So ultimately, one way or the other, it leads to misery. Adi antavantah kaunteya na teshu ramate buddha. A Buddha, an intelligent person, does not indulge, does not entertain such pleasures which have a beginning and an end. So that is 5.22. And the mechanism or the key to reject these pleasures or these pains and pleasures is tolerance. That is the key. So that is 5.23. So shaknoti ihaiva yah shodhum prak sharira vimokshanat kama krodha odbhavam vegam sayuktah sasukhi naraha. So one who is able to tolerate sodhum, all these things arising from kama and krodha, from things that arise from desires that get fulfilled or desires that don't get fulfilled. Kama, krodha, udbhavam, arising from these, all these urges, vegam. Such a person or who is able to tolerate the urges, who is able to resist. Tolerate means when good things are coming or you see good things, you tolerate, I don't want it. You tolerate not having it. And when bad things are coming, you tolerate having them. So that is the principle of tolerance. Sa yuktah sa sukhi nara. He remains truly happy. In actuality, he is happy. So that is what is being said. Tolerance is the key. So please continue. Again, I will remind you to see in your life, can you actually do this? Or how much, to what extent you can do this in your life? This level of tolerance, this level of considering pleasures to be sources of misery. Right now, you may be enjoying, then you're thinking, how is this a source of misery? A grandfather may be holding their grandchild in their arms and feeling so happy, saying, how is this a source of misery? So somehow you have to realize or try to realize this. And the answer will be that it is very hard to do so. That is the answer. It's extremely hard. That is the main point that Krishna is driving towards. So remember what I said, where is Lord Krishna going with this conversation? It's going to become increasingly hard to do what is written. That is the point. Okay, anyway, so tolerance is the key. Then we come to the Brahma Nirvana stage. So that is 5.24, 25, and 26. 3 verses are the Brahma Nirvana stage. So first we covered the Brahmasthita stage. When you are eligible for nirvana, now you are in nirvana. The happiness that you get when you are in nirvana, that is being described in these three verses, 24, 25, 26. So one whose happiness is within, yo anta sukho. So three things: anta sukho, anta arama, and antar jyoti. So everything is inside sukha, arama, and jyoti. Jyoti means enlightenment or the realization. That is jyoti. So whose happiness, whose satisfaction, and whose enlightenment is all within himself or herself, such a person, sa yogi brahma nirvanam brahma bhuto adhigacchati. Such a person goes towards brahma nirvanam or brahma bhuta stage, goes to the brahma nirvana or brahma bhuta stage. So that is the point. He who is completely enjoying within, he is in the state of complete enjoyment within. 25th verse. Couple of more attributes, three more attributes. They attain Brahma Nirvana, labhante Brahma Nirvanam, they attain Brahma Nirvanam, and in that state, they are doing three things. They are Rishayaha Kshina Kalmashaha. They are rishis, they are very elevated people, very saintly people. Kshina Kalmashaha, which means they are devoid of all sinful reactions, which means all their karmic reactions are gone. They are erased. They are free from those. Chinna Dvaidha Yatatmanaha. They have, Chinna means they have cut all dualities. They see no difference between good and bad, iron and stone, victory or defeat, honor, dishonor. They don't see any difference between any of these dualities. And they are always engaged in yatatmanaha. They are always engaged within. Sarva bhuta hite ratah. And they are engaged in everyone's hita. Can you be engaged in everyone's hita? Even those who are giving you trouble? Can you think of their hita? Hit means their welfare. Sarva bhuta hite ratah. Ratah means always engaged in that. So those are the properties of a person. Those are the characteristics of a person in the Brahma Nirvana stage. They had their sinful reactions have been eradicated completely. They are free from all karmic reactions, that entanglement of reactions of fruitive work, the phala, karma phala, no more karma phala. And they have no dualities. And they are engaged in everybody's welfare. This is the stage of Brahma Nirvana. Now, I want to point out one thing. It's a small aside that even in the Brahma Nirvana stage, they are engaged. Ratah. Ratah means they are engaged. Engagement means involvement. They are involved with other living entities. It's not like they have taken complete sannyasa, karma sannyasa, not doing anything. So here also, this is hinting that in the Brahma Nirvana stage, there is engagement. It's not a state of devoid of engagement. So that point is coming up here. Yet the point is that this is a very, very high state of existence. This is the Brahma Nirvana state. 5.26, the last ones, the last stage. Kama Krodha Vimuktanam. They are free from Vimukta. They are completely freed from Kama Krodha. Yatinam Yatachetasam. With full control, Yatachetasam, with full control over the mind. The mind is fully controlled. Last line, Vartate Vidita Atmanam, who are self-realized, Vidita Atmanam, who know who they are. They have realized, I am the spirit soul, I am not this body. Abhito Brahma Nirvanam, the third line. It goes in the sequence like A, B, D, and then C. That's how you can construct an English sentence. In Sanskrit, it makes sense, but the sequence to go is A, B, D, and then C. They are Abhito Brahma Nirvanam. They are assured of Brahma Nirvana stage in the very near future. So this is the Brahma Nirvana, description of the Brahma Nirvana stage. Okay. So once again, the question comes, where is Lord Krishna going with this? Or where is Lord Krishna going with this conversation? That is the main point for us. For somebody who is in the Brahma Nirvana stage or about to achieve Brahma Nirvana, he can go towards it further. I certainly am not at that state. So what is the use of this point, of this conversation for me? That is the question. So let us quickly review what we have discussed so far, all the way from chapter 2 to chapter 5 so far. So if you have not been paying attention so far, now is the time to pay attention. Please listen carefully. So the question is, or the sequence of events, or of the sequence of instruction, let's say, by Lord Krishna is the following. One is, the first step was just do detached work, isn't it? That was the first one, Nishkama Karma Yoga. That was the first stage. Then one realizes this is not very long lasting. So let me put it this way. I'm just inventing how to kind of write this down. This is not very long lasting. How long can you do detached work? So what you need is jnana. Jnana means understanding. Understanding of what? What should I do? Why should I do? How should I do? All the what, why, how, everything of Nishkama Karma Yoga. You need the jnana about it. Okay. So, and then as you keep making progress in this jnana, you have to understand it very carefully. And that deep understanding requires, this jnana requires a highly controlled mind. The mind has to be highly controlled. We have been talking about this in the last few verses. Enjoying internally, rejecting externally. The mind has to be controlled. How can you control the mind so carefully? Look at Vishwamitra. The moment he saw Menaka, even though he was such a highly controlled sage, in the mind, he was controlling his mind, he got swayed. Durvasa Rishi, so many times there are so many examples where he kind of, he's such a great yogi, but controlling the mind is hard. But as we have seen amply in chapter 5, that controlling the mind, whatever is written, that's why I was asking you, see for yourself everything that is written. Can you do it? Is it practical for you? Controlling the mind to that extent as it has been described in chapter 5, can you do it? So this was described in chapter 5. This was described in chapter 4. And this Nishkama Karma Yoga was described in chapter 3. So let me put it in a different color. Chapter 3, chapter 4, and chapter 5. Requires a highly controlled mind. And finally, to control the mind, the process of controlling the mind is called dhyana. Dhyana. That is the process of controlling the mind, and this will be covered in chapter 6. But the next two verses, 27 and 28, will give a glimpse. 5.27 and 28 will give a glimpse of Dhyana Yoga, also known as Ashtanga Yoga, the 8-step process. Ashta Anga, 8 limbs or the 8 steps of this process of completely controlling the mind. So if we go in reverse order, really you have to go in this sequence. This is a sequence. Actually, it is in this way. I will write SEQUENCE, and I will reverse the arrow like this. To be able to do Nishkama Karma Yoga in a long-lasting, consistent way, you need to attain Jnana. To attain Jnana, you have to have a highly controlled mind, and to control the mind, you have to do Dhyana. So first you do Dhyana so that you can control your mind, so that you can attain Jnana, so that you can do Nishkama Karma in a consistent, everlasting way. That is the requirement of this whole process of yoga. So let's go forward. So now we will see a glimpse of Dhyana Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga in 5.27 to 5.28 is a glimpse of Dhyana or Ashtanga Yoga. So let us see what it means, how to control the mind. There is a process. And again, please try to see, can you do this? How practical it is for you. So what does it say? Sparshan kritva bahir bahyamsh. So sparshan kritva bahir bahyamsh. The external sparsha has to be left outside. So how do you leave something outside when you are inside? Close the doors, isn't it? So you have to close the doors of your senses so that the external signals stay outside. That's what this word this first line is saying. Sparshan kritva bahir bahyamsh. Whatever are the external signals, leave them outside. Second line, chakshush chaiva antare bhruvo. Bhruva means bhumar. Or what do you call it? These eyebrows in Hindi is called bhuvar, I think. So chakshu chaiva antare bhruvo. Focus internally the eyes, not externally. Internally, which means close your eyelids and focus your eyes as if you are looking at the center of the eyebrows. So you have to concentrate at this point. Prana apano samau kritva Nasa abhyantara charino. So first you have to close all your senses, then focus your eyes between the eyebrows. Then you have to stop breathing. Prana apano samau kritva nasa abhyantara charino. That the ingoing and outgoing breath, prana and apana, have to remain in the nostril. Try doing this for 10 seconds. Maybe you can do for 10 seconds, do it for 1 minute. Okay. You will not be able to do, I cannot do it. How can you not breathe for 1 minute? Some people may breathe for 1 minute. They cannot breathe for 5 minutes or whatever may be the time. So you have to stop breathing completely. So these are all about the external organs, sense organs, seeing, breathing, all that has to stop. Then internally, you have to control the mind, intelligence, and ahankar, man, buddhi, ahankar. Let us see that. Yata indriya mano buddhir munir moksha parayanaha. By controlling yata indriya, all the senses, all these senses, including the mind and intelligence, man, buddhir, mano buddhir, Munir moksha parayanaha, focus on aiming or aim for moksha. Vigata ichha bhaya krodha, this is the ahankar part of it. Completely let go of one's ahankar, because we said that remember the last class, the soul desires ichha. There should be no ichha. Vigat means completely give up ichha, all kinds of desires, no desires, no material desires, it is meant. Okay. Ichha bhaya krodha, completely give these up. Yaha sada mukta evasaha. In this way, one stays sada mukta. One can stay in that state of mukti forever, sada. Otherwise, it is it is what in physics we call it a state of unstable equilibrium. So you have to try to understand this process of dhyana yoga or ashtanga yoga. This is what is described here, that you have to do this. That is what leads to complete control of the mind on a consistent, everlasting basis. Is that possible? I say it is not possible for me. I don't know about you. Maybe for some of you, maybe great yogis, but it is not possible. So, Lord Krishna concludes 5.29. Or all that, whatever we described in that sequence, or an alternative. An alternative. So try doing that. But only in one verse, Lord Krishna is talking about the alternative. Just to give Arjun some hope, and to all of us some hope that yes, there is a process. The details will be disclosed in great detail starting from chapter 7. So there is still one more chapter to go before we reach this state of alternative. So this will be described in chapter 7 to 12, and the alternative is, no surprises, Krishna Bhakti. That is the alternative. So that is why I have been asking you to think, can you do this process? What has been described so far? So I will show it again on the screen, this whole sequence. Nishkama Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Dhyana Yoga. And if you cannot do this, then please consider the alternative. And the alternative is a beautiful alternative. This is a very, very important verse, 5.29, where Lord Krishna is saying 3 lines that somebody, that Brahman, he is starting off, one who is reading Bhagavad Gita chapter 5 so far, will think that he is referring to the Brahman. Bhoktaram yagya tapasam, that Brahman is the bhokta, which means the beneficiary of yagya and tapasa. That's how one may think. Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, Brahman is the supreme. Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. Suhridam Sarvabhutanam is the friend of all living entities. That Brahman is the friend of all living entities. But what does he say in the 4th line? Gyatva, not Brahman, Gyatva Mam. One who knows me to be these things. Shantim Rachati. He goes to that state of Shanti or that state of Brahma Nirvana. He doesn't use, Lord Krishna does not use the word Brahma Nirvana here, that Gyatvam Nam Brahma Nirvanam Gachati. He does not say that, because one goes to a state even higher than Brahma Nirvana.
Prabhuji, what is the meaning of Bhoktaram?
Bhokta, Bhokta matlab the receiver.
We are in that sense.
If I give you a gift, you are a Bhokta. Bhokta matlab, in some sense, you can say Bhugatna. Enjoyer.
Okay.
One,
Okay.
you can
Thank
think Bhugatna. In Hindi, you can say bhugatna, but that is generally has a negative or a suffering
Dukana.
kind of a meaning. But it is the same thing, whether you are enjoying or suffering. He is the receiver of everything, but he is the receiver,
Enjoyer, okay.
bhokta
Okay.
of yagya and tapas, of all the yagyas which have been described so far, and tapas. If you can see the previous, this whole previous process, won't you call all this process as tapasya?
Yeah.
Is this very easy, this whole process? Whatever is shown here, is this very easy?
No, because it
Tapasya.
is so difficult. So because it is so difficult, so Lord Krishna is guiding us towards bhakti.
Yes, that is correct. That is absolutely correct. However, this is tapasya. Even if you do this, ultimate receiver is Lord Krishna only. That's what he is saying. You may
Yes.
think that Brahman, I will achieve Brahman, or Brahman, or this some abstract, some kind of energy is the receiver, but Lord Krishna is saying, I am behind that energy.
Yes. That's
Yatva mam, one who knows that I am the receiver, Shantim Rachati, he becomes completely peaceful. So that is what is being said in 5.29. So this is,
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you,
thank
Prabhuji.
you, thank you. So this is great tapasya. This whole process, this whole sequence which has started in chapter 2 and will continue up till chapter 6 is great tapasya. Lord Krishna is saying, I am the receiver. So why you are trying to go through this long way? Directly give your love to me. That will come later, but that is the essence of the meaning. Bhoktaram yagya tapasam. Yagya and tapas, whatever you are doing, I am the receiver. I am the Lord. Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. I am the Lord of everyone in all the universes. Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. Maha Ishwara. Maheshwara. Suhridam Sarvabhutanam. I am the one who is the friend of all the living entities. Suhridam Sarvabhutanam. I am the friend of all living entities. Gyatva Maham Shantim Richati. One who knows that I am all these three things above attains Shanti. This is bhakti. Knowing who Krishna is and then approaching Krishna with love is bhakti. So this 5.29 is a verse of Bhakti Yoga. And just to summarize, there are three things. Krishna is the ultimate enjoyer, we can say, or receiver of all our activities. So to become free from the fruitive results, I will mute. To become free from all the results of our activities, instead of performing Nishkama Karma Yoga, what we can do is to offer our activities to Krishna, which brings us to 9.27 and 9.28 verses. And we will not go over those now. We have gone over those many times. You should have memorized these verses by now. Yad karoshi, yad tapasya, yad juhoshi, what is that? Yad karoshi, yad ashnashi,
Yad ashnasi,
yad juhoshi,
Yad
dadasi,
juhoshi.
yad tapasyasi kaunteya, tad kurushva.
tat kurushva madarpanam.
Yes. Thank you. So I am the ultimate enjoyer and the receiver. Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. I am the Lord of all planets, Sarvaloka, and universes, we can say. And number 3, I am the friend of all living beings. And I should say I am. So this I word is coming in Mam. Gyatva Mam, one who knows me to be all these things. Gyatva Mam, Shantim Rachati. So that is how chapter 5 ends. And Lord Krishna will now begin to describe the process of Dhyana Yoga. So that last stage of controlling the mind, Lord Krishna described very quickly, just in two verses, 27 and 28. But there he will describe it in little more detail, how to control the mind, starting in chapter 6. So we will start chapter 6, but we will see if there are any questions. So are there any questions by anyone? You can raise your hands, or you can put it in the chat, or we can start chapter 6 right away. Let me see here. Anything on chapter 5 or anything so far?
Prabhuji,
Yes, Hare Krishna.
how can we see good and bad as same? I think I remember you said if we can see good and bad as same, then we are in Brahmabhut stage. So how
Yes.
can we see good and bad equally?
So the point of that whole discussion, at least for us, now it is kind of imaginable how one can see good and bad as the same, as you don't consider anybody does anything bad to you or good to you, you are not affected, like honor and dishonor. You don't get elated when you receive honor, and you don't get agitated when you receive dishonor. So that could be one way to understand how does one receive good and bad equally. Or if a friend, or not such a nice friend, who has been giving you trouble, they both approach you for some help, you help them equally without thinking that all the past, this person did that to me, this person did this to me. So all these things one can apply, but the whole point is that this is very, very hard. And then when one is serving Krishna, when we switch the conversation to Krishna Bhakti, then it becomes much, much easier. How to see somebody doing good or bad things to you or to anyone, you see them as a potential devotee of Krishna. He is also a person who is just lost. And your job is to bring them closer to Krishna. You put your own ego aside completely. A Krishna Bhakta's only job is how can he bring other people closer to Krishna. So then you start behaving like a doctor. A doctor, when he sees a healthy person or a diseased person, he treats them neutrally, isn't it? Any doctors here on the call? They can attest. They don't have any feelings, oh, this person is very healthy, so let me give him good treatment, let me charge him less fees. Or this person is diseased, oh, such an idiot, how can he get into such a disease? No, the doctor has equal disposition, equal approach to both. The purpose of the doctor is not to judge the person, but to cure the person, whatever the situation the person may be in. So in that way, a person, a Krishna Bhakta, starts operating like that. He completely puts his own desires aside. They don't even exist, because he is working for some other higher desire. All these problems occur, how to see everybody equally, etc., etc., is when you have to put aside your own priorities, your own attachments, your own desires, but not replace it with a higher desire. When you replace it with a higher desire, or a higher attachment, or a higher priority, or a higher commitment, and that too which is spiritual in nature, then all the other things become very, very petty. A example of this situation is for if you are walking on the road and somebody calls you bad names, you might enter a fight with them. Hey, why are you talking to me like that? But if you have to catch a flight and you know you are getting late, and if somebody says something to you on the way, what is the best policy? Do you want
Ignore.
to get off and fight with them?
Ignore.
You just ignore, and your job is to catch the flight, otherwise you will miss the flight. So you have a higher purpose. Everything else becomes petty, becomes very, very irrelevant and immaterial. So when you take up the cause, the highest spiritual cause, there is no other cause. Think about it. What other cause can be there other than this? Think about it. Can you come up with any other cause? Even the cause of Desha Prema, nationality, working for my country, or working for humanity, like Mother Teresa, like I will work for all human beings. At a material level, there can be ways in which you can get agitated, in which you have some attachment, because there is attachment to something material. If somebody comes in the way, somebody tries to thwart your expectations, tries to thwart your efforts, you're trying to do something and somebody is trying to thwart because you think you are the doer. Oh, I am trying to do this and he's coming in my way. Get out of my way. Why are you doing like this? All that can will come in your mind. When you consider yourself simply to be a servant of Krishna, that I am a puppet, I am just dancing, I'm doing my wagging my tail little bit. There are others. If Krishna wants, he can solve this whole problem in 1 nanosecond. But I am just getting the opportunity to wag my tail, to help Krishna, so to say. This is how the squirrels were thinking. Always think of the example of the squirrels who were helping to build the bridge. Their consciousness was not at all that if I don't wag my tail, the bridge will not get built. They were completely not in the mindset of the doer. They all knew that if Lord Ram wants, he can build the bridge simply by his wish. We are just getting an opportunity to help Lord Ram and therefore show our love to him. That extreme state of love that we can generate in our heart can only come in bhakti to Bhagwan, because he is the most superior person. And we know that this is what the reason why we are doing this is to please him, not to achieve any other objective, whether it is to gain freedom for country or solve world hunger or any other cause, because that makes you the doer. Here you are not the doer, you are simply an instrument which you have willfully become engaged. You have given the reins of your operation in hands of Krishna, saying, you make me dance. You pull the strings, Krishna, and I will dance on your instructions. And whatever else happens is your desire. And I feel, from my small little realizations in this process, I feel that completely brings one to the state of not taking offense when anything bad happens. If any reward comes, not taking it like I did it. So this is why this knowledge is also called confidential. I may have spoken for the last 10 minutes to answer this question, Manoj Prabhu. But if one has not himself tried to walk this path, a lot of this answer will be theoretical and will not make sense. So you need to try it. You need to actually try and apply it in your life, and then you will realize the sort of the sense in something, what has been said. So therefore, this knowledge is very, very applicative, and the answer comes once we apply. Otherwise, it might sound like, one more theoretical speech. So
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji.
Yes, thank you. Okay, anything else? There is some question on the chat. It's a little long one and it's directly to me. So let me. Okay, I'll just copy this and paste it here so everybody can read it. So one of the participants is saying this message. I missed the point of what you said after, but when you said concentrate between your eyebrows and hold the breath, what is the result we are looking for? The result is to control the mind. That is the result we are looking for. And there is a higher result, which is what we will discover in chapter 6 very soon once we go into it. And that result is Paramatma realization. So at a certain level, the result is to control fully, I will say, fully, completely control the mind. That is one. But at a deeper level, it is to see Paramatma in our heart. I hope the one who has asked the question out of our prior discussions realizes that there are two Atmas in our body, Jivatma and Paramatma. They are both inside our heart. And this process of Dhyana Yoga, so this process of concentrating the mind between the eyebrows, etc., this process is called DH. I always miss that. DHY. Dhyana Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga. And through this process, we can control the mind. And when the mind is fully controlled in the 8th stage, Ashtanga Yoga means 1, 2, 3, 8 stages. The 8th stage is Samadhi. In this stage of Samadhi, we can see Paramatma in our heart. Momentarily, for a very, very short amount of time, we can see Paramatma in our heart. A very good example of this is in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, chapters 4 through 7 of Narad Muni. In his previous life, when he was the son of a maidservant, and he sees Paramatma momentarily for a very short time within his heart through this process of Ashtanga Yoga or Dhyana. So that is the outcome, or that is what one is looking for. So yes, that is the answer. Okay, so let us start chapter 6. I don't see any more questions, no hands raised, nothing on the chat. So we will start with chapter 6. So what I'm going to do, yes, anybody wants to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add here. I think even if you have achieved the Ashtanga Yoga, because I have read it in the Swami Narayana Charitra. Even when the Swami Narayana goes to Gopal Yogi, and when he learns from the Ashtanga Yogi, Gopal Yogi being a scholar on the Ashtanga Yoga, he could not see that God in the last stage. Then he graces, and then after that he only sees the God in the Swami Narayana actually.
Thank you. Very nice. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, it is very hard to achieve that final stage, extremely hard, and that is the whole point. That is
because
the whole
there
point.
Also he says that bhakti part was missing at the last stage.
Exactly. And that is exactly what Lord Krishna will describe in the 7th chapter. That you can do all this long winded process, or you can take the shortcut, which is bhakti. And a very, very important verse in this regard is 7.19, where Lord Krishna is saying, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan mam prapadyate. So at the ant, let's just quickly see that verse perhaps. It's a very, very important verse, 7:19. Bahunam janmanam ante. At the end of many, many births, Jnanavan, all these Jnanis. So this is the process of Jnana Yoga, which requires Dhyana Yoga to control the mind. What do? Is they realize that Mam Prapadyate, I must surrender to Krishna. And the realization is Vasudeva Sarvam Iti. That Vasudeva, or surrendering to Krishna in love, or taking shelter, Prapadyate means surrender or shelter, take shelter of. Vasudeva is Sarvam Iti, is all that is needed. You don't need anything else. So after so many lives, Bahunan Janmanamante, after the end of all these long, multiples, millions of lifetimes, maybe thousands or millions, what did you gain? That's like taking a staircase instead of taking the elevator. And such a person is very rare who can realize this upfront in the beginning itself. Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. Or another way to interpret this, Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha, is in the middle, they fall down. One who completely reaches the 100th floor through the staircase is very rare. It's much, much easier to reach it by elevator. If you have a 100-story building, is it more rare to reach the 100th story by elevator or by staircase? If you see a person reaching the 100th floor by staircase, such a person is very rare. You should give him a medal. Thank you for reaching. You didn't die in the middle. You didn't collapse. So that is the understanding. Yes, this is bhakti. So Mam Prapadyate Vasudeva Sarvam Iti. This whole sentence, Mam Prapadyate and Vasudeva Sarvam Iti, these words are no different than Krishna Bhakti. This is Krishna Bhakti. There is nothing else in Krishna Bhakti. A bhakta thinks that Vasudeva or Krishna is everything, and he takes full shelter of Krishna. Mam Prapadyate. So the learning, the key learning is that the shortcut process is very simple. The shortcut process is, oh, I'm not sharing the screen. Or Krishna Bhakti. The process is, you just say to Krishna, just acknowledge, my dear Krishna, I am full of shortcomings and faults. I cannot perform the process of Nishkama Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, etc. on my own. So please help me by whatever, please help me by your grace to pick me. I'm just inventing this as we speak. It's not prepared or something, so it may not make grammatical sense. To pick me from this samsara or ocean of misery and bring me to you. That is Krishna Bhakti. We acknowledge that we are unable to do this process. At least I am able to see that I cannot do this process, this very, very tough process. So you help me. I cannot do it on my own. That is Krishna Bhakti. This please help me is the taking shelter stage. this is no different, or this is equal to taking shelter, asking for Krishna's help. Realizing that this is an ocean of misery. First, you have to realize that. If you think, aha, this is a beautiful place, I don't need to leave from here, I want to stay here, then why will you even ask to pick you up? So none of that matters then. So first you have to realize this is ocean of mercy, of misery, and then request Krishna's help to pick you up, because you know that you cannot do it on your own. That is the shortcut process, that is Krishna Bhakti. Okay, so enough said on this. What's there on the chat? Okay. So I'm going to stop the recording and I'm going to restart the recording. Please don't leave. We are not going to end the session. We will start chapter 6. So